Hope everybody's well. Good afternoon. I'm going to share my screen in a moment. While I do so, I wonder if you would get your fingers warmed up. I'd like this to be an interactive session, and I'd love you just to put in the chat for now. When I say the words ESG, what comes to mind? What word? What phrase? Maybe what emotion, if you will? What comes to mind? I'm going to share my screen while you do so. Transparency. Ooh, yeah, good one. Any emotion that comes up with that transparency, David? What we need to do to be better. Being better, yes, definitely. We're going to be talking about better business today. What else do we have in the room? Tick box process. Don't apologize. We're here to either bust some myths or perhaps make this. But we'll ask again at the end. See how you feel. But we do not like tick box processes. So let's make sure that it's not a tick box process. How to be greener. Yep. So definitely on the environmental side for Nicola. Thank you. Anyone else want to add anything? All right, I'll let you carry on adding. So, yeah, good afternoon. I'm Mahala Beckett from Connect 3, which is a people and business consultancy, and I am their Chief Sustainability Officer. Um, I'm really passionate about supporting businesses to grow in a sustainable way, and we will definitely delve into what I mean by that. Just a quick background from me. I'm a government economist by background. I used to work for the Department for International Development here up in Scotland and across several African countries. I've also been a company director of four of Intrepid Travel's businesses across Africa, so I know what it's like to sit in the director seat of the business. I am a trained B Corp consultant, which is sustainability framework and movement, which I can also touch on today. I am chair of the local B Corp community, sustainable business community up here in Scotland, and I'm also a trained professional business and leadership coach. So these are all the tools that I bring to help businesses to grow sustainably. And a little bit about Connect 3. So Connect 3, we basically exist to create inspirational leaders who build healthy businesses that are really great places to work. And we focus on supporting businesses with good growth, helping them with their strategy and future vision, their purpose and values. And we use a lot of coaching and leadership training techniques. We are people first, so we really focus on working on the people because when you look after your people, your business grows in a sustainable way. And our ESG consultancy, something I'm leading up for Connect 3, is part of our future work life. And we're doing a lot of work with great companies on EDI, equity, diversity, inclusion, as well as innovation and company culture. And so our ESG fits perfectly into that future work life. Bit of a delay. So basically, we're on a mission to make the planet a better place to work and live, and we're really happy to bring you into our mission today. And just a quick note to say that we practice what we preach. We are by no means perfect. We are not the best business. We're pretty good, but certainly focus on progress over perfection. When we know better, we do better, and we support our clients to do better. And we are a certified B Corp, which means that we've been certified to have high standards of social impact, of environmental performance, and good governance. And this is something that we really like to share with our clients to help them to be better businesses too. And these are some of the clients we've worked with. So that's a brief introduction to us. I'd love to know in the chat, like, why are you here? Is there anything in particular you'd like to get out of today to make sure that I can address that? I've got things I'd like to share with you, but we're going to have lots of time for Q&A, for discussion at the end. So if there's anything particular you'd love to get out of today, do pop into the chat. This is what I'd like to share with you. I'd like you to come away with some knowledge. I'd like you to come away with knowing what ESG is, what the benefits of incorporating it into your business strategy, some of the barriers we've come across businesses are finding it hard to do so, and actually the opportunities that are there for your business when you look after your people and plan it better, improve your governance. I'd love for you to come away with ideas for you. So this isn't just a teaching, this is an opportunity for you to reflect and to think about which of these are most material for you and most important for your business and how you can make a start on improving your business. And finally, a bit of confidence to come away thinking, actually, I know a bit more about ESG, about sustainability now. I know how I could be a better business and to be able to talk about it and make some steps on your sustainable growth journey. So if there's anything else, have a quick look at the chat. If there's anything else that you would like to get out of this, then feel free. If you've got any questions, welcome to put them in the chat as we're going along. We will have some time for Q&A at the end, but I've said to Catherine, if anything looks like it'd be pertinent for me to answer as I'm going through, then Catherine, feel free to interrupt me because I won't be able to see the chat as we're going along. All right. So hopefully your fingers are all warmed up now. We're going to play a little game of true and false. Please don't be shy. This is just a bit of fun. So I've got 3 questions for you. Just have a guess. Question 1, true or false? ES regulation is coming. What do we think? Perhaps you get a T or an F in the chat. Graham T, Nicola T. What else do we have? Dominique T, Catherine T. Anyone else want to contribute? Another T. Okay, we'll keep them coming. What do we have? Got a bit of a delay on the slide. True. So I guess the first thing to say is there is lots of regulation around good governance in a business and around various parts of environmental activities in your business, especially for some businesses. And there are various regulations around looking after your people. So yes, there already is a lot of regulation around ESG if you think of it like that. Secondly, the next thing to say is that since 2022, regulation has come in for larger businesses, so businesses over 500 million in revenue who are publicly listed or have more than 500 employees. They've already got to report on the climate risks to their businesses and how they're mitigating. So there already is some for larger companies, not yet for small companies in the UK. The EU has just approved some regulations, which is likely to come in very soon, either in the autumn or early next year, which will require EU companies to report, if material to them, along 10 different things for their business around the E, the S, and the G. And the UK is currently looking at setting some standards, which is hoping to have some standards by June 2024. At what point that becomes regulation and comes to standard, we don't know. But it's all pointing towards the fact that there's going to be regulation in this area on top of what we already have in the individual areas. But I would say let's not wait. Let's not wait to be regulated, right? That's never a good sign. Let's get on the front foot and do what's the right thing to do and do what's beneficial to us in the meanwhile. But it's just to point out it's probably coming anyway. All right, question 2. Investing in people and planet is not good business. True or false? Not good business. False, Dominique. False from Wendy. Ooh, quadruple false from Catherine. False from Lucy. False from Brian. The falses are flowing in. So keep them coming while I attempt to move beside them. What's it gonna be? False. Yeah. And obviously, it kind of depends how you invest in your people and planet. But assuming you've done some thinking about it and you've invested in the important and material things, there's loads and loads and loads of evidence to say if you look after your people and you look after the planet in a way that's impactful to your business is going to do really well. And we can look at that in terms of a product and competitive side. We can look at that in terms of staff retention side. We can look at it in terms of a business resilience side, and we can look at it in terms of an investment side. And I've been looking at studies that have been recently done on sustainability and more sustainable companies and sustainable products. And I can give you if anyone would like the references for these, I can give you all of them. So sustainably marketed products have grown more than twice as fast as their equal competitors, which have not been marketed as sustainable products. And that's between 2013 and 2022. Double the growth as competitors that haven't been labelled as sustainable. The survey by Get Smarter found that 56% of staff are more inclined to stay at a company which is taking sustainable action, seem to actually do the things it says it will. Environmentally focused startups are twice as likely to survive through that first initial period of growth than a non-environmentally focused startup. So that's startups that are trying to solve environmental problems. And almost half of new product pitches, new business pitches are including sustainability. Therefore, people pitching it are obviously thinking that by showing that you've thought about how you're looking after your people and the planet, you've thought about your future resilience environmentally and socially, you're more likely to get investment. And I could have had a whole host more, but there's just some really good data-driven evidence base that says you look after people and planet, look at the different areas where you can get benefit in your business. Thought they were quite interesting on really recent studies. All right, question 3. Sustainability is more of a cost than an investment opportunity. True or false? Last one. What do we have on this last one? More falses. Another false. A lot of groupthink here, guys. Anyone want to challenge the status quo? More falses. Okay. Okay, true then. All right, so what am I going to say about this one? What do you think? I'm going to say false. And this is a great report by McKinsey that's recently come out that's estimated between 9 and 12 trillion in sustainability investment opportunities will emerge by 2030. So yes, you could say true, like there are going to be some costs involved, there's going to be some expenditure, but the fact that it's going to be an investment opportunity for somebody that we're going to definitely see, people don't invest unless there's going to be a good return on that investment. So McKinsey's saying there's going to be a huge reallocation of capital towards the new economy, and there's going to be lots of returns in there. So are we up for the challenge? Are we ready for it? So I asked you what you were thinking about, what your thoughts were in ESG. Well, let's just like delve into it a little bit, shall we? So ESG, I guess the third thing that comes to mind is the environment. How your company has an impact on the environment in terms of its carbon, its water, its waste, its pollution, and how you manage that. And we'll delve into that in a moment. Social impact is also really important. So that's your impact on your internal people, your employees, but also those people outside of your company. First of all, looking at your customers and your supply chain, and then your local community, and then perhaps global communities that are important to you. And then finally, governance. It's how you lead your company, how you manage it, how you make decisions, and what you report on and how transparent you are to the wider company. So I'd like to dig into those 3 a little bit today. And then, as Catherine said, we've actually got a webinar on each of those to really delve in. So if any of these particularly take your fancy and feel particularly material, important and timely for you, then please come back and join one of our webinars that will go into a bit more depth. So I think it came up a few times when I asked you what you thought about ESG, people tend to think of the environment. I think there's a bit more of a, oh wait, there's people as well. But environment tends to be what comes up first. So, and then I think within that, it seems to be energy, carbon, and net zero that is top of mind for most people right now. And in fact, that's where I suspect legislation will come in first. We know the planet's on fire. We know we're contributing to that, and we know that we need to start reducing. I think a report came out yesterday. We need to at least halve our emissions by 2030 to keep global warming at the levels we need to. And a lot of companies are starting to set net zero plans and reducing their emissions. So that's huge, right? And I think that's probably pertinent to most people. And once you start looking into your energy use, your carbon emissions, and thinking about how to reduce them, and to get to net zero, you need to reduce them by 90%. And looking at offset the rest. Within doing that, you're going to be looking at your business model. You're going to be looking at, oh, how does our waste contribute to our emissions? How can we reduce that? Can we sell it on to another company? Can we buy another company's waste to use it in our production processes? Can we look at the end use of our products? What do our customers do with them? Look back at our supply chain. How are they making them? So looking at real inputs and outputs of resources, and looking at how can we make the way we make our products more circular. So that's also a huge part, especially if you're a product-based business. And through doing that, you'll be looking at life cycle assessment of your product. So that's looking if you're a maker of jeans, it's going right back to the farming of cotton and right forward to what that person does after they've owned the jeans 15 years and they no longer want them. What's the whole lifetime effect of that pair of jeans in terms of carbon, water waste, and how can we start to look at reducing that by working with the farmers, with the suppliers, with the factories, and with our clients to say, when you finish with them, give them back. Or like one company I've worked with, give them to Crisis to start putting them in their mattresses. Obviously, looking at all your other uses of resources that are finite. Land, if you're a A food producer, how much land are you taking up with cattle? If you are a manufacturer, how much water are you using in your processes, and what other finite resources are you using, and how can you be reducing them to reduce the impact on the environment? Can you even be resource positive and put back what you take out? And then slightly different, like climate resilience and adaptation, it's saying, well, what impact is climate change going to have on my business? And that's something that the UK is already requiring businesses to report, which are larger. How is it going to impact your business? What are you doing about it? And how has it impacted? Thinking about one of the retailers I've been working with this summer, they didn't have half the sales they expected to because they sold a lot of summer goods. We never really had a summer, did we? And that's really impacted their bottom line. Probably wasn't going to be on their risk register, but maybe it should be in the future. So a lot of things to think about in the environment. I wonder if I could ask you, which of these, if any, feel most pertinent to you and your business? Which perhaps feels like one you wouldn't mind digging in a little bit further? Even if you're a service-based business, some of these will be material to you. So of these, which one feels, if you wouldn't mind adding in the chat, give me a wee break. Net zero for Graham. Yeah. Anyone else want to have a think about what might be? Energy and carbon, David. Yeah. Circular business model. Interesting. I'd be interested to hear what your product is. Energy, carbon, and net zero for Lucy. Yeah. And obviously, that brings in quite a lot of the other things. Your waste produces carbon emissions. Your suppliers will produce carbon emissions. So yes, it's a really good, really great place to start. All right. Keep them coming. And we're just going to move on to the other two, which I think are a little bit less talked about because yes, it's all about the environment. And people play a huge part in this, right? Without you people, we're not going to have a planet to save. We're not going to be able to save the planet. And governance, the way that you set up your business for success, the way that you manage your business for success is also incredibly important. So much so that I'm actually going to go to governance next because I think the way that you set up your business is really, really, really important. So lots of subjects here. And again, in the G of ESG webinar, I'd love to delve into these a bit more and actually do a couple of practical examples with you. First of all, let's start at 12 o'clock and move around the clock face in that order. I think this is a good way to do it. Your business vision and your purpose. So if you think about why you're in business, what problems are you solving for your customers, for your clients? Are they social problems? Are they environmental problems? Are they economic problems? Could they be? Is it time to look back at your business purpose and say, actually, we were just in business to make some jeans, but actually now I'd actually think that's not quite good enough. I'd actually like to be in business to make jeans that reduce loneliness, make jeans that connect communities, make jeans that are carbon positive. How are you solving problems, social, environmental, economic with your business, and how would you like to? So that's always good to start with an intention. And then what's your business model? Are you a standard business that maximizes profits for your shareholders? Are you a partnership that maximizes benefits for your partners? Are you perhaps a B Corp? Now, B Corps are businesses that change their legislation and say, yes, profit's important, but actually when we take strategic decisions on that business, we're going to look at all stakeholders. We're going to look at the impact on our profit and on our employees and on the planet and on our suppliers and investors. And we're going to make decisions that balances all of those, not necessarily prioritizes one or the other. So what's your business model? How are you operating as a business? And can you be better? Is there a way you could set yourself up for success? Your board structure, if you have a board, perhaps it's your senior leadership team, who's on it? Is it representative of your customers? Is it representative of your employees? Do you have non-execs on it that are helping you to make decisions which are going to be pro for the environment or certain social groups that you care about? Leadership. Now we can look at leadership internally and externally. Is the leader of your business, is it you? Are you leading in a way that is prioritizing your people and the planet? Are you, it starts from the top. So are you setting your business up to be the kind of business that cares for people and planet? And what does that mean for the people below you? You could also look at it in terms of an industry. Are you leading in your industry? on showing good governance, on looking after your people, on looking after the planet. And how could you become a thought leader, an advocacy leader, a market leader in these things? How are you making decisions? Are decisions in your company made by one person? Is it made by a representative board of people? Do you bring employees into your decision making? Do you ask your customers? More of that in the social impact space. And then I've used the word material quite a lot. So what is material to you in terms of social and environmental issues? Some of you have said net zero, one or two of you have said circular economy. You can't be making a move on everything at all the same time. So it's really important that you do a materiality assessment. You look at what's material to you financially, but also material to you like in an issue space. For my company, for example, at Connect 3, we don't use a lot of water. We're not a very resource intensive consultancy. So we're probably going to put that on the back burner and focus on things that are more material to us, like the carbon from our business travel, for example. So a materiality assessment, and that's something we can delve into for each of the companies here on the G webinar. Once you figure out what's important to you, what's your business strategy? And I put sustainability in brackets because yes, you can come up with a sustainability strategy, but really what you need is a sustainable strategy. How are you going to build resilience and impact into your strategy as business as usual? Then I had one client say recently, you need to measure what you treasure. So when you figure out what's important and you know where you want to get to, when are you going to start to keep an eye on? Look at your baseline, look at where you want to go and start to measure how you're doing, who you're going to make responsible for these things. And then finally, how are you going to be held accountable? I think, David, you mentioned transparency. You talked about ESG. You're going to be telling your customers what they can expect from you. You're going to be telling your competitors what they can expect you to be leading on. Are you going to be telling your supply chain what you're going to be asking them about in future? And are you going to be reporting on more than just your top line and your bottom line? Are you going to be reporting on how engaged your staff are, or perhaps how you're doing on your net zero plan? So quite a lot of subjects in there. Happy to answer any governance related questions now. And we've got a whole webinar on that, if that sounds interesting. In which case, social impact. So again, quite a lot of stakeholders here. So we've got the internal ones, the employees, and we've got some external ones. Let's start with customers, shall we? So we mentioned at the very beginning, thanks, Catherine. We started at the very beginning, like, what's the purpose of your business? What problems are you solving? If you're not solving a problem, no one's going to be giving you any money. But are you solving problems that are really pertinent to this time, this now, this social, economic, environmental problems? Could you? Are you listening to your customers? Are you providing them with what they want, what they need, and what's important to them in terms of the social and environmental problems that are important to them? I had one customer go out and say to customers, if we could make a move on one of these three things, and I think it was more efficient delivery, packaging, or reusing materials in our product, which of those three would be most important to you? Do you know what your customers would like you to do in the social environmental side? And then obviously you can educate your customers. Did you know that we have the most efficient delivery systems, which means that your veg box gets to you at half the emissions than if you were doing 3 trips to Morrison's? So educating customers, helping them to help you to look after people and planet. Then we move on to employees. So looking after employees' well-being. Are they happy and healthy at work? Are they engaged? Are you including them in strategic decisions? Are you listening to them? Are you training them? Are you creating value with your employees? And in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, obviously this is a huge area, but looking at your current workforce, are you treating everyone, is everyone getting the same opportunities? Are there certain groups of people that aren't staying with you as long or aren't as engaged? What could you be doing about it? And the way that you bring employees into your business, are you seeing a good range of diversity there that can help you to serve your customers better, create better products, and bring like really interesting ideas and innovation to your business? Or are you seeing it's always the same kind of person that applies for your roles? Then we're looking at your supply chain. And I'm sure if you're going into your net zero plans, this is something that you'll be interested to look into, because yes, you've got your own emissions and your own resource use. What are your suppliers doing in terms of looking after their people? Are they paying living wage? Have they got 0-hour contracts? Are they looking at their emissions? Find out what is the baseline? What are our suppliers doing? And are we happy with that? Or would we like to do a little bit of education and say to our suppliers in future, we'd like you to be X, Y, and Z, because these are our kind of red lines. Would you like to be working with suppliers that are doing better? And then finally, what you're doing in your community. So this might be some pro bono work. It might be some volunteering. That might be locally or globally. It's we're all very interconnected. Charitable giving. If your company has profit that you can be investing in causes that you really enjoy, like what are you doing with them? What are you doing with that money? How much are you able to give? And what's the impact of that donation? What are you trying to achieve? How does it link back to the purpose of your company? And then finally, advocacy. We talked about you being a thought leader in your industry. How can you stand up and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we think all our industry payers should be doing? How can you make some noise to bring up the standards of the whole industry of UK business? So lots to unpack there. And so we've got a whole hour on social impact coming up in the next webinar.
Can I interrupt very quickly, Mahala? There's a really good question in the chat from Dominique, and it's how can you use sustainability to drive employee engagement on the topic?
Yeah, that is a really good question. I guess if you think about engagement, it's being included, isn't it? And it's being listened to, and it's seeing your ideas being considered and followed through. So ask your employees, just like that company did with their customers, to say, like, what do you think is going to be important for us to make a move on? What would make you proud to be working for us in 3 years' time? Would you be proud if you said, well, we all pay living wage? Would you be proud if you said we had strategic partnership with Crisis? Would you be proud if you said that we were zero waste company? And really get those ideas to come up from the bottom, and be really proud and take action. Don't let it be just one person that has 25% of their role looking at sustainability stuff. Like, let's make sure that everyone owns it and everyone can take action on it and everyone's voice is heard and added to. If anyone else has got any other suggestions, ideas from what worked in your organization, I'd really love to hear about that. But I think the listening and taking action is the most important thing. Great question. Yeah, feel free to keep the questions coming. So here is those 3 subjects in a nutshell. Nice pretty diagram. So we've got our governance, our environment, and our social, and the large topics. So basically, say, a sustainable business to us is one that's future fit, one that's looking sustainability absolutely holistically, and is completely integrated in the business strategy, purpose, and growth plans. It's not an add-on. It's not something that's just a little bit environment on the side. It's fully integrated. And not all of these will be relevant to every business. But the job for you, and so we can delve into this in the governance area, is like, what's material to you and where does it make sense to start? So I think we've probably already touched on a good amount of benefits of looking after people and planet. Just in case you didn't get those subtle hints, I'm just going to blast you with them now. So here's 6. I'm sure there are more, and if you can think of more, feel free to bung them in the chat. So efficiency savings. If you have got eyes on every single area of your business, if you are looking at how you can reduce waste, reduce energy, find more innovative products, reuse your waste, if you can look at how that you can engage your employees better, how you can make more better decisions from your board, you're going to be making efficiency savings and you're going to be enhancing productivity. Staff that feel more engaged, resources that are better employed, employees that come up with more innovative ideas and solutions, you're going to enhance your productivity. So get more bang for your buck. Your employees will be more engaged and feeling better if you're looking after them and investing them and including them in everything. You will reduce the risk of negative shock. So if you are thinking about actually how is climate change going to affect us, how can we educate our staff to help us on the future challenges? If you are getting in the front foot of any regulation that's coming, then you are going to be far more resilient than the average company. Boosting investor confidence. if you're looking for investment and you can prove that you've had eyes on every area of your business and you can see what the risks are going to be, and you can show really proactive investment in some of these areas, an investor's going to be far happier looking at investing in your business than the average business. And then, of course, the opportunities. You may have found extra areas of revenue, extra products, extra services, new groups of new demographics that are now more interested in buying your products or service. You will have improved your products and services. Therefore, revenue is going to go up and hopefully better value products. So all of this goes with finding the right things to invest in. And of course, you need to have a good product or service. But if you can look after your people, look after the planet, and be really well governed and managed business with a leader that's really investing in this stuff, you will get plenty of benefits from doing so. But there are some barriers, aren't there? I wouldn't need to be delivering this presentation if everyone was just like, well, of course we're doing this, Mahala. We found, I'm going to say three main, you can challenge me on this, three main barriers why businesses aren't taking the action on this that you would think they would do given the benefits. First of all, I'm going to say relevance. So by that, I mean, a lot of companies thinking, oh, yeah, I can see other companies looking at the net zero and looking at circular business models, but it's just not relevant for me. I don't think our business, it's not big enough, doesn't sell a product, we barely travel. I don't think we'll be affected by climate change. We're not weather dependent. We're not on low-lying land. We're not going to flood. So not relevant. And then there's quite a lot of businesses, either consciously or subconsciously, thinking along those lines. They're not particularly triggered by not taking action. We've then got some companies that actually, they know it's important, but they just don't know where to start. They've got an inkling that they've probably got some emissions. They've got an inkling they probably could be using their resources more productively. They've got an inkling that perhaps they're not invested in their people in the way that they could. Perhaps they've not got great staff retention. But they're not quite sure what to do about it. And business as usual is kind of getting in the way. And they haven't got time to read up on it and think about it. So they want to take action, but they're not quite sure what to do about it. And then thirdly, perhaps you're a business that knows it's relevant. You kind of know what to do. You know that you're resource intensive. You know that you need to look after your people better. You know that you need to get a net zero time plan. But you keep saying, well, I'll do it on Sunday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon comes and goes. Hopefully you spent it having a nice time with your family and not getting through the P&L on a Sunday afternoon. But basically, there's a lot of companies that know they've got to take action on it and don't quite get to it. So I'd love to hear from you. Is there anything else? Anything else in the chat that's stopping you from
There's a really good
getting
question
started?
again from Dominique around overcoming the barrier of relevance. Should this not be a topic that is of relevance to all business?
Yes, it should be. I think it's just taking a little bit of time to have a think about it, isn't it? And I would suggest for those companies, come to my governance, come to that first webinar where you can go through the issues and think, well, what is relevant? Maybe not everything is. You know, water use might not be. Circular economy might not be. But perhaps staff engagement is. So I think it's an education piece, and I don't think you need a lot of time to figure out what is important. So yeah, a little bit of time and space to have to think about it, but feel free to use those hours I'm delivering the other webinars to get on with it. But you're right, it is relevant to everybody.
I think one of the reflections that I've got from conversations I have with members, up and down Scotland, most people, our directors, our leaders, they'll say to me, I get it, I get what this is, I get why we need to do it, but we cannot afford to get it wrong. And it's the how that is the major barrier for most, from a financial but also a reputational point of view. That's my kind of take on the biggest barriers right now.
I love that reputational one. I think that's interesting. I mean, unsurprising in the last few months that we've had a lot of calls of greenwashing, and now we're seeing it in other areas. I think care washing I saw talked about recently in terms of how you look after your staff and how you're washing that. And I think the cost one is an interesting one, and the reason I did put it in here is because I think a lot of companies hide behind the, well, we can't afford to do anything on this. And I would like to argue that, yes, that might be the case, but I think it has to be the fourth one. If you've realized it's relevant to you and you know what to do and you found the time to do it and you can't afford that thing, that's fine. I think just saying we can't afford it, we can't afford what? So I'm going to give you all a poll on what you think the biggest barrier is for you. And I've included cost in it. Because I got heckled last time I did this. So I've kindly included it for you guys. And I only want you to use the cost one if actually that is genuinely, we've costed out what we need to do and we can't afford it. Because I'm sure for some businesses that will be the case. And I wonder if I can find my poll and launch it, if you wouldn't mind. So it might be a bit of everything, but what do you think is the main barrier, the most material barrier, the next barrier perhaps to you and your business taking that next step? Just going to give you a few seconds. Anyone else? What if the last one is me? The last one might be me. Okay. A few more seconds. I'm going to end the poll. If this works. Okay. So we've got it's great that everyone thinks it's relevant. I guess you're here. So perhaps I'm preaching to the converted on the relevance thing, and that's great. We need to get everyone else that's not here. Um, 33% is knowledge. So yeah, a bit more information. So feel free to come to the E, the S, and the G, and we'll fill you in on at least some of the background to that. Time, yeah, absolutely. You guys are busy directors, of course. There's business as usual happening. So it's making it as easeful as possible to make sure that business as usual is operating as a good business, that it's not an add-on, right? And for some of you who've actually done the costing out, then it's cost. So this is how do we create more value for more opportunities from being a sustainable business so that it pays for itself, right? And in the future, generates that return on investment that made that cost an absolute no-brainer investment. So thank you for playing with me. I appreciate it. Okay, how do we stop here? So we're just going to kind of round up before we go for some questions. So in terms of next steps, I think it's sometimes helpful just to put a little bit of roadmap out there, some how you might move on. Now, you can let me know what stage you think your business is at. So, but it's always good to start with a baseline. Where are you now? How are you looking after the environment? How are you looking after the people? And what does your governance look like now? And what we can do from Connect 3, we've got a really simple ESG diagnostic. I think it's 16 questions. It's based on the B Corp impact assessment, which is hundreds of questions, but it's a 7-minute diagnostic, which can give you an idea of where you're doing now in terms of environment and social and governance to get a feel for, okay, this is what we're celebrating. I always like to celebrate where you are. You are not nowhere. You're not at ground zero. You're probably already looking after your staff to a certain extent. You're probably already doing some good things for the environment. You've probably already got some good governance practices. So let's celebrate where you are and give you some top tips on what might be next. So after this webinar, I will share with you the ESG diagnostic. Then strategy, where do you want to go? We talked about that business purpose. Where do you want to get to? What does a good business look like for your business? What's your vision? What's material to you? What are the important things that you want to take a move on? And therefore, what sustainability items can you build into your strategy? And then, of course, once you've got a strategy, you need to take action. Remember those 56% of staff were staying because their company was taking action, not because they had a sustainability strategy. So what do you need to do? What are you taking action on? What's your roadmap? Who are you making in your business responsible for doing these things and for reporting back on these things? And is there any technical support that you need? Have you got it? Do you need to reach out for some help on the people side, the governance side, or the environment side? And then finally, impact. There's no point in doing it if it's not having good either on your business or on the social and environmental issues. So how will you know you're succeeding? Are you going to set goals in some of these areas? Once you've got your baseline, at least you've got, well, where do we want to get to? You're going to set some key performance indicators. Are they going to be measured? They're going to be reported internally. And they can be communicated externally to let your competitors know that you're doing really well, to let your customers know that you're looking after people and planet, to let investors know that you're a blooming good investment. And how are you going to communicate that impact? How are you going to create that goodwill in your customers to grow your brand and turn you into an even more sustainably successful company economically into the future? We're obviously all at different stages. We've got some companies like at stage one, they don't even know it's relevant. That's no one on this call. They're just struggling. They've got slow growth, business is sluggish, they're losing out in tenders to competitors, or maybe not even able to go for tenders because they haven't got a net zero plan, they haven't got a fair work policy. Might be time to think, oh, actually, maybe it is relevant. Maybe I need to look at people and planet. We've got some businesses, which is probably some of you here, you're ready to work on it. You know it's relevant, you know it's important, just quite not quite sure where to start and what to work on and what support you need. And then we've got some businesses in stage three. You're already going for it. You're already looking at your carbon. You're already measuring the things. You've already got great engagement. You're involving your staff on really important decisions. Perhaps now it's time to think about, oh, I wonder if we can look at the B Corp certification framework, look at best practice and see areas we can tweak and maybe get recognized for some of the good things we're doing. We are all at different stages. And I think for us at Connect 3, it's about meeting you where you are. It's celebrating where you are, looking at what's most important to take a move on that's going to have an impact on your business financially and on people and planet and helping you move forward. So what we'd love to do is share our ESG diagnostic. As I said, it takes 7 minutes. Have a look at where you are and we'll send you some top tips of what might be next for you in terms of looking after people and planet. Because we're here to support you to grow in a sustainable way that's good for your people, good for the wider stakeholders, and for the planet. And we'd love to help you on that any way we can. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. Happy to chat with anyone separately afterwards. Please come along to the ESG to delve in a bit further. This has been a lot of information in 45 minutes, but I'm happy to open this up to questions, discussion. Catherine, was there anything remaining in the chat that you'd like me to address?
There's nothing come through yet, but we could maybe give everybody 5 minutes or so to process and think of any questions that they have. In the meantime, I'm going to sneak in with my own question. And I suppose I think that there's a lot of information you've just gone through, and I think it would be really good to know what would be your stage one top tip, your very first step that you would say to people to take. We've established that everybody in the call today is in the stage that they've already accepted that this is very relevant, really, really keen to get going. What is the next step on the ladder, if you like, for people to take? And I know the diagnostic tool is probably that space, but anything else that you think would be useful just for people to be mindful of or thinking about right now?
My question, obviously use the ESG diagnostic and that'll give you some ideas. And I would say just take a moment. A coaching question I like to use with my clients is, imagine I bump into you in 5 years' time and you just can't wait to share with me how proud you are of your business, that you are providing so much impact for your people, for your customers, for the planet. Like, what is it that you can't wait to tell me about in terms of what you're so proud about? And that will be different for every business. And it might be something that you're already starting on, and it might be something that surprises you. But yeah, if you were to tell me you were so proud about the way you were looking after people and planet in 5 years' time, what would you love to tell me? And focus on that, because we're already stretched, we're all busy. We can't all try and solve all the issues. There are thousands, millions of companies around the world that can do that. So if you were going to pick one thing that you were really proud that your business was helping to contribute to, what would it be? And start working on that.
Thank you. And I mean, I definitely think there's a real role for us as the IoD to be sharing some of the case studies around best practice and kind of innovative approaches in this space. So we will continue to endeavour to do that. We had a great session in Aberdeen last year where we looked at the E from ESG, and I had some really honest conversations in the room. And I know that plans are afoot to bring another session like that forward again. We do have some questions in the chat now, so I'll jump straight back to those. What, in your view, is the biggest barrier to get really serious on this topic, to view sustainability as an opportunity and get the board to come along?
Probably going back to the answer I just gave you, it's finding the right things to make a move on. Yes, you can make a move on everything, but why don't you start with something that is just an absolute no-brainer? If we invest in this, we can see the business benefits. So if we invest in our staff, right? If we look after our staff better, we're going to boost retention. We're going to, increase productivity. That's an absolute no-brainer. Start on that and prove it. And then start to say, okay, well, then if we start to reduce our business travel, here's the impact on the bottom line. And here's our reduction in carbon. So I think it really is starting to pick off the no-brainers, which start the finance director from being like this in the board meeting to being, okay, this isn't just a bunch of tree huggers. They're actually talking something that's commercially beneficial for us. And then, work onto the things which maybe are a slower burn. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. There's another question about the next steps after you get the results from your self-assessment. And there is also a question about getting the link to the diagnostic tool in the chat, if that's possible. We will be circulating that via email after the session as well, just to make everybody aware.
Yeah, I wonder if Nick could put that in, or I can in a moment when I stop sharing my screen, no problem. So the next step, so what the diagnostic will do, it will give you a quick tip after the E, the S, and the G, will give you a quick tip saying, this is what you're doing well at, perhaps you can consider this next. And we can then send you, if you give your email, we can send you those tips. And happy to have a brief call, a 30-minute call you can schedule with us. And we can actually go through for your business, actually, on each of them, what would be the no-brainer next step. And I think that's the most important thing. Let's start small. Small steps really add up. And that will also give you an idea, if you're really excelling at the ESG diagnostic, the next step would be to have a look at the B Corp framework. But I would say let's start with the ESG diagnostic. It's bite-sized, it's easily digestible.
That's the last of the questions in the chat. I don't know if there are any top tips or lasting key messages you want to leave people with, Mihala, when you've got a captive audience.
I would just say, don't be scared of this subject. I think we're all on a journey. Like, no one can know everything. I certainly don't know everything. We don't know everything. I think just be curious. What could be important to us? What could make a real difference to us? What would we love to work on? And just start to work on it. You don't have to put everything out there to get greenwash slanted. Just start to work on it. Don't be afraid of it, and see this as something that's going to help your business and not as something that's going to be something additional and heavy. I think we can really have fun with this. And we should be, right? We should be proud of any action we take on this. So I'd say get involved, get curious, and don't see it as an additional, just see it part of operating a business.
Thank you. That's a really, really nice top tip to finish on. And I note that the diagnostic link has also been posted in the chat as well for those who are raring to go and don't want to have to wait any longer. So thank you for that, Nicola. That leaves it for me to say a huge thank you to you, Mihala, for coming along and taking part in the session today, leading the session today even. It's been absolutely fascinating to listen into, and I have shared the links for the future discussions on E, S and G, which are the next one's taking place on the 19th of October, and that is the E from ESG on environmental. So do please join us for that session. We will share links when we email everybody out a copy of the diagnostic tool, as well as a link to the recording, so that you have access to this for future reference. But in the meantime, thank you everybody. Enjoy the rest of your rainy Wednesdays, if it's anything like Edinburgh right now. Hope you all have a great rest of week, and see you again in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks for everyone at Connect 3. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.